Hello! Welcome back to another exciting episode of MegStories. If you're enjoying what you're watching, we kindly ask you to show your support by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. My wife wants to sleep with another man. So my wife and I have been married for almost a year now. About 3 months into the marriage, I ended up taking on a job that degraded me mentally and physically. I was so miserable that I ended up taking my frustration out on her. There are no excuses for what I did ever hurt her physically. Was just super verbally mean to her, and I've hated myself ever since. After I finally realized what I was doing, it was too late. She had already lost a lot of feelings and emotions for me, and I haven't blamed her since I found out. It's been hard to get her back to the way she was, and she's finally back to her old self and loves me more than she ever did. But this isn't what's bothering me. About 5 days ago, as of this writing, she and I had a discussion. Since I snapped out of my aggressive phase, what I call it, I've been noticing that she constantly tried to avoid having sexual intercourse with me. I brought it up to her and she said, "You just don't satisfy me in bed." This hurt, but I can also understand since I'm really boring in bed and with how much I hurt her. Just a basic position and I'm content. She told me what I can do to improve, and for the past 5 days, I've done everything she wanted and has been happier having sexual intercourse with me than she has ever been. But 2 days ago, she told me she wanted to have sex with another man, so she felt. When I say this hurt me, I mean to a state I haven't felt in years. Not since my father died. My heart is broken. She has tried to explain to me that she doesn't want to do it for love or a new relationship. She simply wants more in bed, but yet she didn't give me any time to try improve. I'm lost, confused, and heartbroken, and she doesn't understand why I'm like. I'm not mad at her for wanting more, but am I in the wrong for feeling the way I do? She said she wouldn't do it without my consent, but said if I didn't let her, she couldn't keep any promises that she wouldn't do it behind my back anyway. I know this isn't for advice or anything like that, but I really needed to get this off my chest. So if you're reading this, I appreciate it. Now for the next story. My wife invited me to sleep with other people twice. AI for taking it seriously? My 43 and 15-year marriage has been difficult. In some ways, we work well as a couple, and we have great kids. But there's been emotional drama, and our sex life has been tepid for a long time. My wife, 43, almost never initiates sex and usually rebuffs my attempts. We have sex monthly, give or take. A year and a half ago, out of nowhere, she said that I could have sex with other people. It was totally unexpected and unprompted, and I was shocked. And she really pushed it. Like, really, I mean it. You can. I responded that I didn't want to sleep with anyone but her, and we dropped it. Then, 6 weeks ago, she said it again and really pushed it again. And again, I was surprised and said that I didn't want to sleep with anyone else. But the second time I said that, it wasn't really true. The truth is that when she first offered that I could sleep with other people, it unlocked something in me. I started thinking of other women as potential sexual partners and thinking a lot more about sex. And recently, I made a friend. Let's call her Anne. We were part of a local interest group, and then we started meeting one-on-one every week. I told my wife about her and that we were friends. But it became increasingly clear that Anne was interested in me as more than a friend. Last week, Anne came right out and said that she'd sleep with me if I wanted. I told Anne that I was attracted to her, but that I was married and I cared about my family, but also that my wife had said I could sleep with other people, that I didn't understand why my wife said it, and that I'd talk to my wife about whether she really meant it. A few days later, I had the conversation with my wife. It went poorly. I told her that I loved her, loved sex with her, and wouldn't put our marriage at risk, but also that I was thinking of taking her up on the sex with other people thing if she was really okay with it. And I told her about Anne's proposition. My wife was deeply hurt. She thinks I betrayed her by building a relationship with another woman, and she doesn't think I had her permission to do that. She says that the first time she offered that I could sleep around, she actually wanted to sleep with someone else and was testing the waters, and that she didn't through with it after I said no. When she repeated the offer 6 weeks ago, she says our relationship was in a completely different place from where it is today, and she thought that offering me sex with other people was the only way to save our marriage. Explanation does not ring true for me at all. In both cases, since I had told her that I wasn't interested in other sexual partners, she thinks the offer was dead and I was wrong to think it could still be on the table. I never kissed Anne, never said I loved her, never even held her hand, and I've now told her that we need to remain just friends. I think my wife gave me permission to sleep around and that I went above and beyond by talking to her instead of taking her up on it. But she thinks I betrayed her, and she's now saying she wants a divorce. Next story. My 22 Faye wife, 30 Faye, wants to have sex with another man. So I'll provide backstory, as my question isn't should I leave. My wife and I met when I was 18 and she was 26. Yeah, there's a bit of an age gap, but it hasn't affected how much we love each other or any part of our marriage, really. We were both in the military right after boot camp, and we met in an airport. Texting nonstop, meeting on base for little dates, weekend trips to the nearby city, and overnight hotel stays. The beginning of our relationship was saucy, so I left the base before her and moved to my new command in Virginia. She was 1,000-some miles away, but we made it work and proved that we truly cared about each other. So one weekend a few months later, I flew back to see her and proposed. We got married 2 months after that. Now, because I'm being nondescript about where and when, from meeting to getting married was about 8 months apart. I know there will be a lot of people who cite our problems as getting married too fast, not really knowing each other before we got married. But honestly, none of those have been the reason for any issues in our marriage. So about a month after we got married, I went on deployment for 8 months. Hell of a honeymoon though. Went to meet her parents. I get back from deployment. She gets stationed in Virginia. We get an apartment. We love life, yada yada. Where's the scandalous shit? Well, I'm getting to it. She has a very technical job. We joined around the same time, and while I was trained, shipped off, came back, got promoted a bit, and changed commands. All she had done was train for her job. So the day finally come. 2.5 years after we got married, she got deployed for only a month. When she comes back, we celebrate and enjoy ourselves, happy to be together since we've spent such a long time apart. Here we go. The next day, I was just laying on our bed listening to music when she comes and sits next to me. She says something along the lines of, "While I was away, I met this guy, and I'd really like to have sex with him. I wouldn't ever do anything to hurt you, which is why I'm telling you. I would never cheat, but I'd like for you to be okay with it." I wasn't. Pretty much lost my shit. I freaked out, grabbed my keys, drove and chained, smoked the whole day. Well, I get back home and she says she understands, but still protests a little. She acts upset and asks me to think about it. So I do. I wake up, go to work, come home, and then she asks me about it again. I had thought about it, and I figured life's too short to not have fun. I can handle this, so I tell her sure. Well, she plans it all out to have a night with him in our apartment while I'm away on training. Oh boy, did I suddenly not feel okay with it? I went through a whole roller coaster of emotions on whether or not to text her to tell her not to, or to just let it be and move on. Well, I didn't text her. After a few weeks of this and gradually becoming more and more not okay with it, I tell her it's making me feel horrible. Please stop. And she does. Life goes back to be normal after a while and we're all good. Until 2 years later, present day-ish. I separated from the military. She moved to a different command, so now I'm living back at home with my mom because she is only at this command for a few months until she transfers again, which at that point I will move with her and will be there for a while. Right now we're long distance, and recently she's been texting and calling me and always saying that she feels lonely, which I get. I'm lonely too, and I miss her with all my heart. So she calls me the other day, 2 days ago, and tells me that there's someone she'd like to engage physically with, mainly because she's lonely, bored, wants a distraction, and enjoys sex. I was hesitant, but then again I thought life is too short. What could it hurt? As long as she's happy, I'm happy. But I'm starting to feel the same sense of regret, and I don't know if I made the right choice. I'm not possessive. I am jealous, but because I want to be the one with her. And I feel like it's unfair that we're both lonely and her decision is to have sex and mine to bear through it. It's worth mentioning that she's offered the same to me, that I could go and have sex with someone, but I declined. I feel a sense of loyalty to her. Also, it's like 10x harder for a married man to get laid than a married woman. I just want thoughts. I can provide more info if needed, depending on what's asked. If you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more of it to support the channel, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications.